Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the Item Toolkit Reliability Block Diagram module for performing availability studies. In part 1 and part 2, we created a new project and a new RBD system where we constructed a small system with a generator in series, 3 pumps in parallel followed by 2 valves in parallel. We analyzed this system and looked at the results. We then created tabular report formats, as well as exporting our RBD diagram directly to the printer and PDF writer, as well as exporting our diagram to a Word document. Here in part 3, we will look at expanding on our pumping system example and break down our system blocks to subsystems and component levels for our generator, pumps and valves, and define failure model for the lower component level rather than the higher system level. Let's open our project and take a look at how we do this. This is the project and system that we built in part 1, where we have a pumping system with a generator, 3 pumps, and 2 valves. Let's now break down our generator to sub-blocks and component levels. To do this, we would first select the block generator and use the page down button on the toolbar. As we can see, a clear canvas appears for us to create further blocks and components. Let's add 2 blocks in parallel and a further 3 blocks in parallel and connect them up to nodes. As we do this, you will notice that the bottom left-hand window starts to get populated with all the items that we are adding, and the hierarchy is taking shape. Once we have completed connecting these blocks in the required configuration, we can then explore how we navigate within our RBD system from one page to another, system level down to subsystem level. We can do this via the page up or page down button on the toolbar like so. When we go back to our system level, we notice that our generator now has a symbol indication that there is a subsystem below this block. Let's now use the hierarchy to go down to the subsystem for this generator. As we can easily find the block that we are looking for here on the hierarchy, and when we select the item on the hierarchy, the diagram window will switch over to the corresponding page for that subsystem. Let's now open an example project and view different RBD systems that have already been built and see how we manage our navigation through these systems and subsystems, as well as printing or exporting our diagrams as detailed in part 2 of this series for the RBD module. The example project that we are opening now is installed in the Item Toolkit Examples folder, and it is highly recommended to explore this example project to review all of the modules. Look at the results and how the systems and subsystems have been constructed for all of the modules within the Item Toolkit software. Let's look at the first system, which is the pumping system that we constructed in part 1. Let's now select the second RBD system in our projects, which is a small example of an aircraft with the main components, making it easy to understand the concept for RBD systems. The third system in the project is another small example of an electronic system, but this one has images introduced for the blocks. This option is on the right mouse click option on the block for loading or removing images. The fourth system represents a Falcon aircraft, and as we go page down or use the hierarchy to navigate through this system, we can see the subsystems and components. As we can see, there are multiple levels or subsystems for this example, and it is important to note that there are no limits to any part of the Item Toolkit software when it comes to system size, number of systems, subsystems, components, etc. The system can be a very complex system for hundreds or thousands of blocks without any issues. The analysis for larger projects might take a bit longer depending on the computer hardware, memory, and processor. Let's now look at the fifth system, where we find a retro mobile phone with all of the components and subsystems. All of these components will have a failure model based on the available data, as we learned in part 1 of this series on the RBD module. Let's now look at the last system here in our project, which represents an aircraft carrier, and once again, we see lots of subsystems and components within this system. Let's now look at sending our RBD system diagrams to a printer or a PDF writer, as well as exporting them all to a Word document. Before we do that, let's analyze all of our RBD systems via the menu option, Analysis, Perform All RBD. Now we see in the project hierarchy that all of our RBD systems start to be analyzed and the results displayed on the hierarchy. Now we are ready to print our RBD system diagrams. Let's first go to the File menu option, Print Preview, Active View, and select the option All Systems within the current project, as well as Fit to Page and create a reference table. Now we see the software working away to calculate the number of pages required to print all of the RBD systems based on our desired page size and orientation, and making sure that all items are fitted to all pages. We can then click OK for this to see the transfer of all items to the print preview. As we browse through page by page, we can see all systems, subsystems, and components for all of the RBD systems within our project. And finally, on the last page, we see a reference table with all of the items listed in alphabetical order and their corresponding page numbers. We can then send these diagrams directly to the printer or PDF writer. Now, let's look at doing the same, but using the export to Word, which may be more convenient for the user to add their own comments for every page. Let's click the Word button on the toolbar to bring up the options, and let's select All System within the current project, as well as Fit to Page, Auto Arrange, and create a reference table. Once again, we see the software go through the calculation of the pages required based on our page size and orientation, and once this is done, we can click on OK to watch the transfer take place, and a new Word document being opened with all of our systems, subsystems, components transferred to this document as images. As we can see once again, whilst browsing through page by page, all of the items have been exported to this Word document as expected with the selected page size and orientation, as well as the margins required. I hope this series on Item Toolkit RBD module has been helpful, and we would welcome your feedback and comments or requests for further videos on the Item Toolkit RBD module. Simply contact us by sending an email to support@itemsoft.com, and I shall see you in the next series.